Hey guys, kombucha has been an increasing trend these days. It's becoming more and more popular. You can find a bunch of different varieties in the store, different flavors, but I wanted to come on here and show you guys how you can make it at home. It's actually pretty simple. If you don't know what kombucha is, it is a fermented black tea that's slightly effervescent, and then you can add fruit or different juices and stuff like that in there to give it different flavor profiles. A newer trend in the US and has becoming more popular, but it's actually a pretty old drink. And some people think that you can trace it back to like 221 BC from Asia, like China and stuff like that. So it's actually, even though it seems like it's newer to us, it's actually not a new thing, and people have been drinking it for thousands of years. It can be great probiotics for gut health. There's antioxidants. It can help with a lot of different things, and it's a really good drink to drink. I really enjoy it, so let me show you how to make it. Make kombucha tea. You're just gonna add hot water, which I just put however much is in my hot water kettle, whatever will fit in there. Pour it in. You want to use four family-sized tea bags. Add that. 1 cup of sugar. Add that in. This is really full. Stir that around so that your sugar dissolves. Okay, and then we're just going to leave that to sit until it cools to room temperature. Before we transfer and start making our new batch of kombucha, let's get started with our old batch. So this is my kombucha that you can see. I have the date 12/25 on there. I don't know if you can see it or not. So it's been sitting for like 10 days, which it's gonna be perfect for transferring over. And I'll show you that thing that looks really interesting that's sitting on top. We'll see if you can see. That is called a Scoby, which is a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. I know, sounds super weird, but that is what allows your tea to ferment and gives it all that good beneficial bacteria and yeast and stuff like that. And every time that you turn a batch over, it's gonna grow a new Scoby. So you'll keep the original Scoby in there, and then it's gonna grow a new one on top of it, which is really cool. I think it's awesome. I mean, same as sourdough, I think is so cool. So what I have here, one of my favorite blends is some type of blueberry. I use frozen blueberries because as they thaw, it releases some of that extra like juice that you get from a frozen blueberry. So I have some frozen blueberries here, and I usually like to add in something. It depends on what I have. So this is actually ginger juice that I juiced a while back and then froze in ice cube trays in the freezer, so I had it on hand. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of each to each jar, and this makes a gallon of kombucha. Ginger juice goes a long way, so you don't need a ton. And then blueberries. There we go. So I have the fruit added to these, so I'm gonna set these aside. When you make a new batch of kombucha, you wanna make sure that you save aside, before you add any kombucha to your fruit juices and things like that, save aside the first 2 cups because you wanna add that back into your next batch, because then that helps get that next batch. It's called the starter liquid, and you add that into your new batch of tea to help get that process started to ferment again in the new batch. So we'll measure out 2 cups here. And just set that aside. So next I have a container and a strainer just to strain out if there's any little things that floats around in the tea. It's just part of it, but I like to strain that out before I add it to my fruit. This normally takes a couple times for me. So we're gonna add it into the jars that have our fruit in it. Can you see the bubbles? So perfect. The bubbles that I showed you in the kombucha earlier, that is all of the healthy, happy, active bacteria and stuff like that. It's good bacteria, not bad bacteria, don't worry. But that comes from the fermentation process. So that sugar that I showed you that you add in earlier, you might've been like, sugar, I don't want a big sugary drink. Don't worry, the sugar's not for you. It's actually to feed the bacteria so that it can grow and produce all those good bacteria that will then come into your gut and balance the bacteria in your system and everything else. So once you get all of your kombucha and your fruit and stuff in here, we're gonna go ahead and close them all off. And these will actually sit on your counter for another 3 days during a process called second ferment. And it just boosts all the nutrition and probiotics and everything during the second ferment. Because when you add fruit, it's actually refeeding that bacteria. It's providing another food source because it's eaten through the sugar that you added originally. And so the fruit will provide it with extra food for it to second ferment and get even more, grow even more. After you've transferred over all of the kombucha into your jars, you are left with your 2 Scoby. So this is the one that I had put in there last time when I created a new batch, and this is the new one that grew. Make sure that you save the new one, but you can get rid of the old one if you want. It works as great fertilizing your garden because it introduces a lot of good bacteria to the dirt, or you can just throw it away. So once you've let your tea sit to get to room temperature, you're gonna strain out the tea bags. This can go away. So this jar, all I did was rinse it out. You don't really want to use soap in the jar that you're using because it can leave some kind of residue and that can actually kill your kombucha Scoby. So you want to try to not use soap. If you want to sterilize it, you can pour boiling water in it and clean it out really well. But this time I just rinsed. Every couple times I might sterilize, but I just rinsed it this time. So pour your new tea. Now, that was 8 cups worth of water, so I need to add another 6 cups to this to make 14 total cups, because then we have 2 cups of our starter fluid to make a full gallon. So let me go get some more water. So we had 6 more cups of water. We're gonna add back that 2 cups of starter fluid, starter liquid, whatever, just like that. And we'll take that newly formed Scoby. You can also leave both Scobies in if you want. If you need a little stronger brew next time because maybe it didn't ferment as fast or the Scoby didn't get as thick, you can leave both in there, right on top. And then get a coffee filter or something like that it can still breathe, but it's gonna keep out in case there's any bugs that fly in or something. You don't want anything on top of your Scoby. Put that on rubber band. And then that sits for another, probably at least 10 days. It does great 10 days on my counter, but in your house, if it's colder or warmer, it might change up the days, but at least you wanna leave it probably 7 days. That's the shortest amount of time I've ever done it, but you could leave it anywhere up to a month if you needed to. It'll just get more and more of a vinegar taste the longer you leave it. That's all there is to it. So this is what a nice cup of finished kombucha looks like. Got that slight fizziness. It's really good. This one I did not do blueberry. You can probably tell the color difference. This one I actually did a couple of different fresh fruit juices that I mixed together, and it's really good too.